Hello, everybody. Welcome to the premiere of Ghostly Stories live on YouTube, brought to you by Half Past Dead Paranormal Radio. And I don't know why that's showing it's not supposed to be. Hold on, bear with me here just a minute. That's supposed to be. Hold on, bear with me here just a minute. Okay. Anyway, um, yeah, I gotta go. What's going on here? Anyway, new thing, technical difficulties starting out. You gotta love it. Okay. I've got to fix something real quick. So what's going on here? That's the problem. There we go. Okay. Problem solved, and we are ready to go. This is the premiere episode of Ghostly Stories. And tonight's story is about Colonel Walker. And not all of these, and I have to tell you, not all of these stories are going to be scary, spine tingling, on the edge of your seat, ready to cover up your head with a blanket type deal. Okay. Um, some of them are probably going to be creepy like that. Some of them are probably going to be um, helpful spirits coming back to look after their children, what have you, stuff like that. Which tonight's story is basically not either of those two categories. Just this story is just about a spirit being in a building, and the name of this story is Colonel Walker, and as the story goes on, you'll understand why I'm saying it's not. I guess you could call it creepy if you're creeped out by spirits, but not all spirits are bad, so you have to take it how you take it. Okay, my mother worked in a daycare that had taken over the wing of an old school, and the building is notoriously haunted with the ghost of the school's namesake and founder, Colonel Walker. The attic of the building was used as storage for the daycare, and many people reported small, fairly unobtrusive events while being up there. Things like boxes shifting around behind you, drawers opening on their own on the other side of the room where you were, curtains suddenly moving, the feeling of someone else being in the attic with you. We all have probably felt that from time to time if you ever investigated the paranormal. Um, but the kids were the most in tune, it seems. I know that lots of the kids talked about the old man at the daycare, which was staffed entirely by women, and I have definitely seen the kids react all at once, looking at the door as if someone entered the room when no one had. Personally, I always felt as if someone was walking directly behind me whenever I had to go from one end of the hallway to the other. And sometimes I would hang out in the kitchen waiting for my mom to finish up work for the day while I finished my homework or something. I often felt like someone was there with me. I spent a lot of time there, especially in the summer when school was out, helping around the daycare. The most famous piece of evidence of Colonel Walker's ghost was a picture taken at the Halloween of all the kids in their costumes, right in the back, standing behind the children and looking straight at the camera, is the watery and somewhat blurred face and upper body of an older man. Like you don't even have to squint or tilt your head to make out that it is there. Now, I know that it could have been some bleed from some other photos or something, but I think given all the other evidence, it seems they got the colonel on camera. Now, this story is, like I said, it's not bone tingling and chilling and all that stuff. Um, and the story didn't take very long, and we've got an hour. But anybody wants to call in with me or come on with me and talk about ghost stories, if you have one you want to tell, I would love to hear it. Um, if you will, hold on here just a second. If you want to come in the chat room here and leave me a link or something where I can get to you, I'll send you the live link. You can come on here and talk about ghost stories or tell one if you have one. What the heck? Boy, don't you hate when things go like that? What is going on? How come I don't have that now? Okay. No. My chat room is, for some reason, wanting to be a royal pain. Okay. Trying to get this where I can do both of these, and I'm assuming that I can. I'm not sure. Um, okay. Come over here. Ah, there we go. Um, I have a friend of mine that's on here with me, but unfortunately, he doesn't have a mic, but he is actually on here with me, Mr. William Wallace. And William is a great guy. We've done radio show interviews in the past a couple of times. He's been on several of my shows. Very, very intelligent fellow. And I wish he had a mic on here where because I'm sure William knows a lot of good ghost stories and has experiences where you could kind of put it along that line. But anyway, as it is, this is my birthday. I did this premiere on my birthday. I thought it'd be a lot of fun. The idea behind this is to be um, on Friday night. So I'm going to come on here. I'm going to bring you a story, and it may be like the one that I just did, or it may be uh, one of those spine tingling, edge of your seat, oh my God, or it may be helpful spirits, somebody's mom or dad or somebody coming back to look after their children after they pass, stuff like that. So it's not necessarily, you know, the name of it is Ghostly Stories, and they're all ghostly. They just have different categories, I guess you could put them in. Um, if you like, you know, if you're like me and you love pretty much everything paranormal and strange and unique and different, it's not really going to matter if it's one of them that's scares you half to death, or if it's one of them that just leaves you with a good feeling, because you know that your loved ones that are passed can come back and look out for you and stuff like that. So birthday wishes from William. Um, I have like there's two chat rooms to this, and everybody that uses YouTube Live already knows all this stuff. But I have the live chat room here where William and I are, and we're the only ones that can chat in there because it's on the live broadcast. And then there's the other chat um, where everybody watching can come in and chat. And I thought, I'm trying to get this where I can see both sides here. Hang on. Obviously, nobody's over there in the other chat where my long lost people are. But anyway, I'm probably going to wind up making this a short episode, even though I had planned on it being longer. But um, it doesn't seem like anybody is coming over to chat. And scary stories are for Hollywood. um, anyway, I sent um, the link out to watch, and I don't know where. Apparently, which one is this one? Oh, okay. I'm gonna throw this back out real quick. Where am I? What the heck? Okay, I'm dragging really bad for some reason. All right. There we go. Now that's uh, okay. I'm not sure what the heck that just did. Okay. Anyway, um, I'm sorry, you guys. This is kind of not turning out the way I had planned. I wanted to make sure that uh, I let everybody know this is an open uh, program here. When I do this on Friday nights, anybody with YouTube and Google wants to come on and tell an interesting ghost story they have or one that they know of. That's great and wonderful. It's what we want. We want people to interact. Um, Everybody loves a good ghost story, and it doesn't matter who tells it. It's just, when I was 9, I seen a ghost. Actually, I seen a entity, specter, ghost, whatever you want to call it. Uh, and I knew the entity. I knew who it was when they were alive, and so I know ghosts exist, and therefore a lot of your ghost stories are going to have some fact involved, and a lot of them may just be made up. It doesn't matter. A good ghost story is a good ghost story. So, um, if you enjoy this video, uh, be sure to like and subscribe to the Half Past Dead channel. I have a lot of shows from not ghost story shows, but uh, with paranormal guests and people I've talked to. They're all on that channel. Go check them out. Give them a thumbs up if you like them. Be sure to subscribe. William, William can hear me. He just can't. He can't talk live. So I put the link back out, William. But I don't know where everybody's at tonight that's supposed to have been here. Oh, no big deal. We're still doing our thing here. I thought the story was unique, although they're short. A lot of them are short. That is one that I found. Uh, I believe it was on about.com, the horror side of about.com. And you can find a lot of good stories if you like ghost stories. You can find a lot of good stories on places like that. Like I said, they're not all like, put you on the edge of your seat, make you want to cry out for your mama type things, but you may find one every now and then that is. And with me, the creepier the better when it comes to ghost stories. But I mean, I like calm ghost stories and helpful ghost stories. I like all of them, but it's just, if you grew up watching, all the horror flicks when you was a kid, Friday the 13th, Halloween, stuff like that. Um, I don't know how many of you would remember uh, the Mistress of the Night, Elvira, used to do the Friday Night Fright show on, or was it Saturday night? No, I think it was Friday Night Fright, and she would host like different old horror movies back in the day, and a lot of you probably remember the old Wolfman and Dracula, of course, and just all kind of, and some of them were probably like what you would call B-rated, not necessarily top of the line, but they were still interesting back then. When you're a kid, it's like, oh, I just want to be creeped out. I don't care. Let's see what William's saying here. I have to get up with my glasses. Friday night, yeah, probably. Oh, cool. Anyway, Elvira. Elvira still looks young. If you've seen pictures of her. Now, when I say young, I'm not talking about 20s or 30s young, but I'm saying she still looks vibrant, young. She could dress up and do the Elvira thing, now, and it would be probably, I'm sure it would be just as good as it was back then. Um, She may be. William said he thinks she might be a vampire. She may be a vampire. Who knows? Um, Vampires. Yeah, lots of interesting stories about vampires, and I guess you could kind of add them into the ghost story um, realm if you would. You know, stories like back in the day when people would get sick and everything all of a sudden, and it would be like after someone had passed and just been buried, and all of a sudden some of their family would start getting sick, or looking all pale and everything, and they assumed that it was the buried loved one who passed. They become a vampire, so they go dig them up and they drive a wooden stake through their heart. Actually, it didn't start out, I don't think, as with the wooden stake through the heart like the movies show. What they would do is they would drive stakes through their clothing into the coffin and the ground to pin them down where they couldn't come back up out of the grave. Uh, which is an interesting thing because that's apparently where Hollywood got the whole driving the wooden stake through the heart thing. I was like, yeah, we got to drive this stake in it, hit it hard. Yeah, make sure this sucker don't get up. But that's where I think that's where it all came from, and they dug up people that had been buried for over a month or so, which in normal cases they would have been, showed signs of decay and everything like that. They dig them up and they look just as fresh as they did when they put them in there. So yeah, this person's got to be a vampire. I mean, look at them. So hey, that's cool. The white dress is still clean and silky. The skin is still just as they look like they just been put in there that day. Uh, she William said she could turn me as she was. People were, but yes, William's right. People were buried alive. You know, that's where the saying come from, dead ringer. In case anybody doesn't know this, it happened so much back in the day, and that's also where sitting up with the dead came from. Originally, they would and the whole wake thing. I think they had when a loved one would die, they would put them out in their home, okay, and somebody had to sit up with them, and it was a 3-day ritual, and somebody had to sit up with them because they wanted to give them 3 days, and somebody at all times would be there, just in case they woke up. Well, hey, we don't want to bury them if they're not dead. But then they would bury them, and in some cases, and I think that's before they started doing all that, they would bury somebody who would turn out to have not been dead. What they did was and I don't remember, I have to look all this back up because I read about all this stuff. It's been a while. But they would tie a string with a bell on it, and the string would be run down through the ground into the coffin. And if the person woke up or whatever, they could yank the string or whatever and ring this bell and let somebody know, hey, I'm alive in here, get me out. um, Actually, I've seen pictures of people who had like a concrete, their grave wouldn't be like completely covered up. They would have a concrete lid that sat on top. And I remember seeing a picture of this one, and they were so afraid that they were going to wake up in this coffin and not be able to get nobody's attention. They had a window put in this lid where people could see in and they could see out. And I've even heard stories of where they run like a vent tube or whatever down there, to where if they woke up, they could get air. So there's just lots of crazy things that people did back in those days, and you think, man, that's where some of these ghost stories came from, because that's really creepy. I mean, and it's really scary to think about. What if you got buried alive, and you know you wake up and you can't breathe, there's no air in there, you're scratching at the lid and tearing your fingernails off and all this kind of stuff. All right, what's William saying here? Yeah. Yep, that's what I was talking about. Edgar Allan Poe was buried with a string attached to a bell. There you go. 3 days would be long enough. Yeah, okay. Um, you arrange for the string and bell set up, and you wake up underground. So you pull the string and the string breaks. That would be, yeah. Well, you pull the string and the string breaks, or you pull the string and ring the bell and there's nobody there to hear it. If a tree falls in the woods and there's nobody there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, yeah, it makes a sound, but there's just nobody there to hear it, so you're screwed anyway. But anyway, that's what I'm saying. Ghost stories, I love ghost stories, because when you think back on all that kind of stuff that went on back in the day, um, look at Vlad the Impaler. Now there'd be a place for some good ghost stories. This guy was how would you describe him? That's why I understand where the Dracula thing came from. Evil. How do you explain it? He was just evil. And I would love to go to Vlad's castle in Romania. That's on my bucket list. One of these years. But that's the kind of stuff where you can say, hey, that's where good ghost stories come from. Is the things that happened. A lot of the things that happened were so horrific and just evil. Okay, and a lot of people probably make up ghost stories about around stuff like that, and there's not a bit of fact in them, but they're good, just to wake you up, get you in that tingly mood. Propaganda's Blood was the original scary guy. Yeah, I agree. Blood. Now, and this is, and you hear different stories. Okay, I mean, there's stories that he would drink the blood of his victims with his meals. He would have a table set up with all these people impaled on these spikes and stuff, all around him, and he would sit there and eat his meal while they suffered and died. And they said, of course, yeah, he drank their blood, with his meal and stuff like that. Now, I don't know necessarily that he did that, but it does lend creed to good old creepy stories, huh? So when you think about ghost stories and where they came from, um, there's so many different things, like, I mean, and I guess the story of Vlad Dracula has got to be one of the best, because of, all of the horrible stuff he did. But he wasn't only uh, ruler that was ruthless and evil. You know, you got kings that had their wives beheaded, and they supposedly walk around in the castle with their head under their arm and everything. Stuff like that. Um, Lots of crazy stuff went on, and now the name of it is slipping me here in England. The Tower of London. There you go. Um, I even just read something about seeing the spirit of a bear in there. So and according to what I read, they did used to keep animals in there. So you know, animal spirits are real. Possibly they saw a bear spirit in there. But places like that are what gives you the best ghost stories. When you have places where um, people were tortured, drawn and quartered, stretched on a rack, you know, put through horrible experiences before they died. And that's where a lot of your angry spirits come from that people have dealt with. If you're tortured like that and you're, mistreated and tortured and all that, you're not going to be a happy camper. So if your spirit comes back, it's not going to be a happy camper either. Now, in some cases, they just may want their story told. Hey, this is it. I was falsely accused and I was tortured and put to death, but I didn't do it. You know, uh, uh, where are we here? Williams is Wendigo. Wendigo. The Gitche Manitou. Now that I've heard of. That's the Native American. I would say their form of what they would call like a demonic entity or something. They're not good. Um, Garulo. How in the heck you pronounce that? We think we know all the things that go bump in the night, and we have forgotten more than we know. Ain't that the truth? There is so much. Um, you know, and there's so many stories that I'm sure, and I say stories, I mean, real life experiences way back in the medieval times that have never made it, you know, onto a page where people can read about it. You know, maybe stories handed down through the family until the family died off. You know what I'm saying? And it never got out to uh, the public view or the public eye. And I'm sure that some of them were horrifying, and they probably didn't want it to get out. And of course, if you notice, if you look at pictures of castles and stuff like that, they're always like out in the middle of nowhere on the edge of a cliff or something. You know, hey, we can do what we want here. Nobody's going to find us. They ain't going to know what we're doing. Plus, back then, the royalty and the what do they call them? I know you know what I'm talking about. They're the uppity ups, but they're not royal family necessarily. Um, they could do things in these places, and I know they did, and no one would ever know. So I'm sure that there's a lot of these places are haunted by spirits that nobody ever even knew how they died. What happened to them? What did they do to them? Why did they do it to them? Ghost stories come from stuff like this, and those kind of ghost stories. You got to think, hey, I never read about this. It's not in any books. How did anybody find out? Um, a good way that they found out is maybe because spirits have told people things. Hey, this was covered up. I was mistreated. I was falsely accused. I was tortured. I was killed. And no one ever knew. So, I want people to know about me. Possibility. And other crazier things have happened. Okay. Let's see what William says here. Yep, secret societies, ritual sacrifices. Um, of course, once you do your sacrifices and everything, you're not just going to leave the body laying around for everybody to find. So you're going to get rid of it. Nobody's ever going to know what happened to this person. But if you happen to go to that site where this sacrifice took place, you just might find out what happened to this person, where they're at, their body is. But I mean, all that kind of stuff makes for good ghost stories. You know, I don't necessarily just define a ghost story to, yeah, I'm a spirit, I came back, I'm here to tell you this, or I'm going to do that. Um, Anything that can cause death, that, now I don't know, I won't say that every person that has a heart attack is going to come back to haunt you, because probably not. But when a person is, I think the most part is when they are falsely accused and they're innocent and they are tortured and excuse me, and and put to death and everything. That's where you're going to get a lot of your good ghost stories coming from. And like I said, not all of them are fact. A lot of them are fact and fiction kind of mixed together. Uh, some of them, I'm sure a lot of them are completely fictitious. They're not real, but they're interesting and they're fun to listen to. Um, I'll give you, for instance, of a ghostly sound. When I was about 9 years old, my youngest sister passed away. She was 4 years old. She never walked. She never crawled. Um, she suffered, but I had a bond with her, and I could make her smile, and you know, to me that was like, because I knew what she was going through even at that age, and if I could make her smile, that made my day. You know, so I think because we had a bond together after she passed, for a couple of weeks or so after she passed, every night I would hear her crying. And I didn't understand, if she was still suffering or if she was letting me know, hey, I'm still here, because she couldn't talk when she was living. So I don't know if that still goes on after, you know, but anyway, hearing that, and we lived in a big old 2-story house, and it sounded like it came from the upstairs when she never was up there. So I'm not sure I understand that part of it, but um, it's just, and I could tell this, and nobody was there, so nobody knows that I'm telling the truth. It could be fictitious. You see what I'm saying? But it really did happen. Um, it's, Stories come from all over, and I really like the a lot of the old German ghost stories and Irish, Scottish, tales and stuff like that. They have things, and I'm not saying this to denounce any of them because I don't know, never been there, but they have things in their folklore that you don't usually hear about here in the States. And who knows what's true and what's fictitious in a lot of that stuff. You have to take it with a grain of salt. If it's a good story, you listen to it or you read it, and you come away with what you come away with. I just love ghost stories, period. It doesn't matter if they're real or if they're fake or whatever. Now, the ones that you actually live through, they're real. And they're not, well, they're stories if you tell them because nobody else knew and they weren't there. So, yeah, you're telling them a story and you're telling them a ghost story, but it's real or it's not real. When my brother and I walked past the lady on the sidewalk that day, I knew who it was, and it didn't dawn on me for just a second until we stepped it because it was right next to our house, and this is where this lady's son lives, my neighbor, and it didn't dawn on me until we stepped into the yard and I turned back around and there was nobody there. That's his mother. That she just passed away 2 weeks ago. And of course we ran in the house, locked the door, and then come back out the rest of the day. But that's beside the point. But it's a true story, and that's where some ghost stories come from. Is real live, actual events being retold by the person that lived them, or well, if you have a story that is relayed to you by the person that actually lived it, it's more believable. But once it's handed down through this one, this one, this one, you add stuff, you delete stuff, and by the time you hear it, heck, 90% of it's probably not even involved in the actual story. Is something that people just added in, or you may miss out on some of the good stuff in the real story because they've taken it out, shortened it down, condensed it, whatever you want to call it. Uh, yeah, yeah, me too. Oh wow, that's cool. I hadn't heard about that yet. Um, I want to give out a condolence to my friend Janice, whose dad just passed away, and William was telling me of something that he did for her after he passed. Something that, and I have no clue what he's talking about because I haven't seen anything about it yet. But uh, it's always hard when you lose a loved one. You're gonna grieve in your own way. When my mom passed, I was grateful because she suffered so much. Yeah, it tore me apart, but at the same time, I was grateful because I knew that she was not suffering anymore. And now I'm going to give you a little bit of a story, of a piece of that story. When we were at the hospital, she was in ICU, of course, and most of the family was in there, myself and my son, and others in the family were in there with her, and my younger brother and my nephew were out front, uh, because you can't smoke there on property. They had to get in the vehicle to smoke. And it was a rainy, cloudy, dreary day, gray, overcast. Well, when she passed, I had to get out of that room. So I went out to smoke myself, went out front of the building. And when I got out to the truck there where they were, my brother said, "She's gone, ain't she?" And I said, "Yeah, how'd you know?" And he said, "The sky just opened up." He said, just a small, maybe 6 by 6, opening opened up. And like, it stayed that way a few seconds and then it closed again. And he said, "I knew that was her passing through." And I got to get off of this or I'm going to get myself all tore up here. But anyway, that's where stuff like that is where stories come from sometimes. And if you weren't there and you weren't involved and you hear a story, something like that happening, or something really creepy happening. Anyways, the point is, it's a good story. It gives you something to look at, and even if you don't believe it's real, or you do, it gives you things to think about while you're sitting there cringing on the edge of your seat, going, "Oh my God," But if you have a really good story, you hear a really good story, or you read one, or you watch one, and it's one of those, that keeps you on the edge of your seat, and you're sitting there just, you got your popcorn bowl over here, but at the same time you got a blanket ready to yank over your head. After this story has been told and gone, and after that movie is over and gone, and you're, whatever you may be doing, I guarantee you bits and pieces of that are going to come back through your mind the rest of that night. If it's a good story or a good movie or whatever, it's gonna come back. Little bits and pieces are gonna come back, and you're gonna jump and jerk all over again. That's a good story, people. That's what I'm talking about. Good ghost stories. Let's see what William's got going on. Does he? Something that happened to. Uh, Something that happened to Janice that he did for her. Okay. I'll have to find out about all that later, William. I appreciate you mentioning that. Um, I don't really like to, I'm not going to do that on a live thing. That would be her choice if she wanted to talk about that. But um, Janice is a great person, and my wife's in there yelling at somebody. I don't know, the dogs probably. um, anyway, I don't know what she's talking about. But anyway, like I said, I'm going to do this. Hopefully, every Friday, we're going to do a new story. And then hopefully, we'll have some people get involved and some people come on and we'll talk about, the story in particular and other stories. And hopefully, they'll come on with stories that they have. And I would like to make this an interactive kind of thing where everybody can get involved, tell a story, talk about the story you heard, or whatever, just get involved and get into the enjoyment of the good ghostly stories. Okay, that is the whole thought behind this thing. Uh, being a paranormal investigator, I've experienced things, also experienced a lot of things before I ever even thought about being a paranormal investigator. Um, some things are scary, some things are not. It's an ongoing thing. New tales arrive all the time because of new experiences that people have. If you like paranormal investigation, I guarantee you get involved with other people in the paranormal field, and you're going to hear stories, and you can classify some of them as good ghost stories. Are they real or are they not real? That's completely within the realm of the person that told the story. They're the only ones that know for sure, because you don't always get backup evidence when things happen. So yeah, maybe, maybe not. Who knows? You have to. It's like I said, you take it all with a grain of salt because you're not there, and you have basically their word that things happen because they didn't get any evidence to back it up. And stuff happens like that a lot. So um, this is where a lot of stories come from. Like I said, different scenarios. I love the ones that come from the ancient times because of all the stuff that they did, all the horrific things that they did, how they fought in battle. I mean, it was personal, one-on-one, swords and shields and arrows flying at you and all this kind of stuff. Torture chambers and being um, shackled to a wall in a dungeon and left there to die and everything. I mean, it was horrible. But that's where a lot of the really, really creepy, good ghost stories come from. You gotta, you can feel remorse for what happened to people back then, but at the same time, you gotta love the good ghost stories from stuff like that. Um, there's just so many, and of course, you have your typical cases where let's just say that a happily married couple ain't so happily married anymore. They don't want to go through the whole ordeal of having to take it to court to get released from this thing, so they decide. And also, uh, quote unquote, here, if the one side of the family has money, and so that their spouse had money, be it a he or a she, you don't want them anymore, but you want that money, buddy. So you're going to find a way to get rid of them to where you don't have to divorce them and lose all that. You just have them die mysteriously, and all that stuff goes to you then, and your new love or whoever, whatever reason why you did this. But you hear a lot of ghost stories that involve stuff like that. Um, I hope that next Friday I will have a story written up for you and I can get a mic headset. Awesome. That'd be cool. Yeah, William, I'd love to have you be able to come on and share with me and talk about ghost stories and stuff like that. And that would be cool. Um, and anybody that wants to, like I said, if you have YouTube and Google, anybody that wants to come in and join me and do an episode of the ghostly stories, that'd be awesome. If you have stories that you want to come on and tell, that would be awesome. We want to create a family of ghost story loving people here, and just everybody get involved. So hopefully William can get a mic and stuff by next Friday and come up with a good story he wants to tell. That'd be cool. Anybody that wants to, like I said, by all means, come on up, tell a story. You know, talk about the story that you just listened to, whatever you want to do that has to do with ghost stories. I'm more than happy to have you come on talk about it. Um, we're getting down to about 5 minutes here, so even though the story wasn't that long, um, I'll sit here and ramble for probably 45 minutes. But I enjoy stuff like this. I love the paranormal. I investigate the paranormal, but I love ghost stories too. I've always loved ghost stories from the time I was a little kid. But and like I said, Elvira, she was my hero back in the day. Elvira, the mistress of the night, and all the old movies from back then. But like I said, werewolf, Dracula, all the old B movies and stuff. You would call them B movies nowadays, I guess. But for back then, for that time, they were creepy. And I'm going to tell you something. When Friday the 13th came out, for that time, that had to be one of the scariest movies. Now, I went and me and my daughter and she took me to watch a movie. That was one of my birthday present she gave me. She took me to watch The Boy. And this is a good movie. I recommend it. Uh, creepy, yeah. But there was one spot in this movie, and with all the stuff that I've done and seen and been through, I jumped plumb out of my freaking skin. That was the only time during that movie, but that it caught me so off guard. I just literally jumped half out of my skin. But that's the things about movies like that and ghost stories. Somebody can be telling you a ghost story, and all depends on how. Like, and a lot of this is done sitting around a campfire. Okay, yeah, let's tell some good creepy stories. Um, but if the person telling the story is a really good, what's the word I'm looking for here? Their style, okay. Like they can be telling the story and it's all kind of fairly calm and things are going on, and all of a sudden their voice changes and they tell you something that's creepy as hell, and you'll jump, and it's all in the way the story is told. You could take some stories that may not be as scary as others, and if you present it in the right way, I guarantee you'll hold the attention of everybody listening. Doesn't matter if it's fake, real, tremendously scary, or just moderately scary. If it's presented in the right way, you'll have everybody's attention through the whole thing. I guarantee you, nobody's gonna take their eyes off of you. They may flinch and jerk and jump, but they ain't gonna take their eyes off of you. That's why I love good ghost stories. Um, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody coming. Thank you so much, William, for hanging out in the chat room there and talking with me. I hope y'all enjoyed the little short story. Next week, maybe I'll try to find something a little more creepier for you next week. And maybe William will come up with one next week if he gets his headset and stuff. We'll stay in touch and see how that goes. But I appreciate you, William. I appreciate everybody that watched. Um, we will do this again next Friday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Have a great night, everybody. I'm going to go enjoy the little time left of my birthday. So, fairly well.